Won't you please come join me for some midnight therapy? Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of Midnight Therapy. I am your host, Kat Matthews. This is a Sunday night. I'm very tired. I had a jam-packed weekend of Christmas fun, but I still have time for my loyal audience. 99 of you last time I checked. We're almost at 100 subscribers. Maybe we will throw a party, perhaps a party, some type of celebration, I think, is in order. That's a big achievement for me. Thank you for all the loyal listeners. I know some of you listen every week, some of you listen occasionally, some of you never listen, but just subscribed because I told you to at like a Walmart or something, you know, in line at Walmart. I said, hey, let me see your phone. What did you do? Nothing. Never mind. Have a good day. Most of you are listening, though, I think. So I hope you like the show. Thank you for coming on this ride with me as we approach Christmas Day. Christmas season is here. And it feels good. It feels very, very festive. I mean, my best gift would be we hit 100 subscribers before Christmas Day. Can we do that? I think we could do that. Tell your grandma, tell people, tell someone. I don't know. It's not that hard. It's only one more. We're almost there. Regardless, Christmas is here. I'm loving it. We went on a trolley today. There was a Santa Claus, one of the helpers, as they say. Not the real Santa, but there was a Santa on the train. It was very fun. We took the baby. A lot of our family went. It was very fun. The Electric City Trolley Museum. Good time. Best kept secret. It's like $12. You get to go on a 100-year-old trolley with Santa and Christmas carols, and you get to go to the museum. And it's a good time, and it's winter, and it's fun. Go through a tunnel, see a waterfall. I could tell you a few worse ways to spend like $12 or more. That's a pretty good way to spend your money. It felt very good. It was good vibes. It was festive, and it was good old like family fun. It was friendly. It's hard to be mad when you're on a trolley with Santa Claus. That's pretty magic. That's as magical as it gets. Always there's a negative side to every story. A way to waste your money, your $12 or more, would be falling for one of the scams that the fast food companies are pushing to us simpletons, the numbskulls like me, that is fascinated and maybe even infatuated with gimmicks, especially when they have to do with like fast food restaurants and beloved cartoon characters. I know you know where I'm going with this, but if you haven't heard, McDonald's launched a Grinch meal, like the beloved or infamous, if you will, Dr. Seuss character, the Grinch. They made a Grinch meal at McDonald's. I think it's for adults. I don't know if it's for kids. Comes with socks, pair of socks, whatever. That's the toy now. Socks. Remember when you were a kid, you wanted anything but socks? Now you got socks as the Happy Meal toy. Comes in a nice box, a Grinch box. Everything else is the same. Everything else. There's a Big Mac or nuggets. Those fake nuggets made out of paste. It tastes so good. You get the Big Mac and the nuggets. Again, you know my stance on the Big Mac. I don't think you need the middle bun. I think it's kind of a ripoff. It's mostly the sauce you're in it for. That's why I get the sauce on the McDouble. Anywho, the only thing different is they give you this Grinch like baggie. It's a little packet of Grinch like seasoning for the French fries, and they want you to make Grinch fries. They want you to shake them up in this bag, and they print a couple Grinches and a couple Who's, a couple Cindy Lou Who's on the packaging, and you feel like it's something different, but it's not. But we went and they were sold out. They're sold out everywhere. You can't get it anywhere. Luckily, I begged the woman um, if they had any remnants of the Grinch meal left, is there one mismatched sock in the back that fell on the ground? Can I have that? She's like, no, but they had the packet of the Grinch seasoning, the dill pickle Grinch seasoning. They had a couple packets left. And I said, may I have one? And they're like, well, we have to maybe charge you. Let me see how much it costs. And as this woman went to go see how much to charge me for a Grinch dill pickle packet of seasoning, the other woman stepped in and said, here, just take them. That was the right thing to do. She did the right thing. Like, what are you going to do? Charge me for the Grinch seasoning? I don't know. That's insult to injury, in my opinion. But I did put the seasoning on the fries. Look at it. This is what she wanted to charge me for. She was probably going to charge me over $1 for this collectible bag of Grinch salt. Did it make the fries better? Yes. Is it worth like $16 for a regular Big Mac meal in a fancy box with a pair of socks? Probably not. Moral of the story, you could get scammed by a fast food gimmick, or you could ride a trolley with Santa. You need to make these decisions. No one else is going to make these decisions for you. Let it be known, a little caveat. I did try to go to Burger King before McDonald's because they also had a gimmick deal. Like it's like the universe fine tuned the simulation for me, a grown man that mentally at times is, I don't know, 7 years old when it comes to a few things like cartoons and fast food and gimmicks and collectible stuff, like enjoying this Grimace character that's like a purple taste bud. Like, I don't know why I like him so much, but I do. It's some type of mental illness. It's undiagnosed, I'm assuming. Anyways, Burger King, an establishment which normally I would never step foot in because it's disgusting and they should all close. I think we all agree. Nobody really likes Burger King, just like I don't know who's keeping Long John Silver's in business, but Burger King gets a few people here and there because they do gimmicks. And the one gimmick they did at the same time as the Grinch gimmick, which I don't know why they did that, was the SpongeBob meal, which is right up my alley. Weird square greenish bun on the Whopper, Patrick tater tot. No, it was like Mr. Krabs tater tots, Patrick pie. It's right out of a dream of like me. That's like my dream meal. Came with a little toy. You know how I love the Weebles, those little Weebles I had for a while. Um, Perhaps it's some sort of autism. I don't know what this is, but um, I went there and they were sold out, of course, because Burger King's horrible. And the guy at the drive-thru didn't really like our joke. Like Christy was all amped up, and she's like, "Rev up those fryers." And this guy probably heard that like 800 times. He was like, "Oh, it didn't work out for you, did you? We're sold out." He was like a little cocky to me, and I had to remind him, I'm like, "Sir, check the attitude. You know, we're just trying to give you money to your failing fast food establishment because you had a gimmick. So, I mean, if you can't get behind the gimmick and laugh a little, I don't know why. Like, you're taking your job that serious. Relax, okay? So McDonald's wins this one. At least they gave me the Grinch salt. So spend your money wisely this Christmas season. We're entering a recession. So, I don't know. Enjoy it. Speaking of last century, they had a recession as well. Today is December 7th. The attack of Pearl Harbor happened in 1941, December 7th. Just wanted to let people know. I don't know if anyone remembers history anymore or thinks about it, but I'm here to remind you that history did happen. And it's important to remember these dates and what happened. Of course, Japan attacked the U.S. base in Hawaii and essentially got us involved in World War II. Just in case you didn't know. Anyways, we're gonna move on now. One more Christmas thing. We had two train encounters. We rode the trolley, which is electric. And if you don't know, this history of this area is very fascinating. Everybody thinks like California had the trolleys. We were the electric city. Scranton was the electric city. Um, Carbondale was the original steam town. It fell to disarray now a little, but everybody was in Carbondale at the time. That's the coal mining area. It was like the hub. If you came to Ellis Island, New York, you were Italian, you probably got sent to Carbondale. Um, and then people started going to Scranton because of its prostitution. There was a famous prostitute, Madame Jenny, um, who was up at the Hill section back then. She was very rich, very good at her job, if you know what I'm saying. Um, there's a Columbus statue in Scranton that it's pointing, and some make the joke that it's pointing to the red light district. And there's even a still like an homage to the prostitution industry or the sex work industry, whatever you want to call it. There's a bar called Madame Jenny's. It's a speakeasy, and it has a red light out back. And I used to frequent that often before the plague, before COVID. So if anyone remembers that, those were good times. Anywho, Scranton got known for being the electric city. They had electric streetlights and electric trolleys. It was a big deal. So that was fun to ride on that 100-year-old electric trolley. But I also, in my hometown of historic downtown Jessup, PA, we had the Santa train come to our little train station. And it's usually a big old steam train like the Polar Express. But this year it was a diesel train, and it made me very upset. Now we used to go see that all the time, me and Christy. Now we go with the baby, and it seems more normal. Like, oh, they're bringing a child, but like I used to go myself with Christy, and it would be like, why are you guys here? It's like, well, I don't know. Again, probably some sort of autism. Anyways, fun Christmas jam packed weekend. It's Sunday. I'm running on empty, but here we are. Someone's got to do it. I don't want to talk about current events too much. I don't. I don't want to talk about politics. I'm on like a break. I don't want to talk about politics anymore until the new year. But I'm going to touch on a few things quick, and then we're going to move on. So, Venezuela. We got to talk about Venezuela a little bit. I guess the United States is blowing up fishing boats that are. I know it sounds bad, but let me tell you more. They're bringing illegal drugs into the United States. These people have been labeled narco terrorists, which means they are deemed terrorists, because they're bringing narcotics. They are a designated terrorist organization. Um, it's not good. We don't want fentanyl in our country. I understand that, but when you see a fishing boat, like a boat you would see like in a lake, get blown up with like a bomb, it's kind of crazy. I will say. Now, Venezuela has a weird history, and I'm not gonna. This is not, like I said, this is not a peer-reviewed history scholarly source, but I'm going to give you the recap, the Cowboy in the Basement recap. Venezuela used to be very rich, wealthy, prosperous, free market, democratic, capitalistic country. A lot of oil money, a lot of oil. And then Chavez, him, everybody knows him, kind of took over, and it kind of went south. The U.S. may or may not have been involved in some sort of coup to overthrow the government, and now they're kind of like in shambles, and they're an authoritarian, socialistic, almost communistic country, and a failing country, to say the least. You didn't really hear about it, though. You didn't really. Venezuela was not on your bingo card, of current politics. It was Ukraine and Russia and Israel and Palestine and China, Taiwan. You heard those, but I bet you didn't see Venezuela coming. But it's here. So now Pete Hegseth, he's the Department of War. It's not the Department of Defense anymore. It's the Department of War. He's airstriking these fentanyl dealers on these fishing boats, and it's controversial. There was a second strike. There might have been a few people alive hanging on to the side. He said, do it again, or someone said, do it again. He approved it. This is all convoluted. I don't know if this is a distraction. I don't know what it is, but it's not great. They're saying this is a war crime. Trump and Hegseth are doubling down. They're keeping their stance. They're like, they were designated terrorists. We had to do it. We stand by it. Now, what I wanted to say is this administration, the Trump administration, and MAGA as a whole, is getting a little more aggressive recently. Now, I had many, many criticisms I made of MAGA and Trump in the past. I'm going to give them again. I'm going to give some new ones. I'm going to give some pros and some cons because I'm objective on this show. I don't lean any way. I'm right in the middle. Truly, truly, truly in the middle. The Trump administration and Trump himself is having a rhetoric shift. I don't know if you noticed. I was very critical of the rhetoric before. I'm still critical of it now, but this is why it's odd for a lot of people to digest. This is my take. My take on why it's so hard to make sense of Trump and MAGA, especially in 2025, is his rhetoric and the movement's rhetoric is aggressive, but also like childlike and immature. So you're like lighthearted a little, like it's like lighthearted, but then also very aggressive. And you don't know how to take it. It's like an abusive, manipulative relationship, where you're like, is this aggressive or is this funny? Like I don't know if they're kidding. Like it's weird. So for example, like Trump doubled down on the boat thing. Like that's a very serious thing to be like, well, they're terrorists and we're not bringing drugs into this country anymore. And I mean it. Like you're like, oh, the guy's serious. And then like the next minute he's, I don't know. Like I saw him give Kiss the Medal of Freedom, which I liked. I support that. Those guys deserved it. The rock band Kiss, Gene Simmons, Paul Stanley, Peter Criss were there. Ace Frehley couldn't be there. He died very recently. Rest in peace, Ace. But like he's doing these, you're like, oh, it's Kiss, how cool, in the White House. But then the next minute, it's like, oh yeah, bomb that boat. So you're like, I don't know how to take this. But the seriousness of the rhetoric changed very recently, where he feels more like he's back in business. I don't know how to put it. It feels like older Trump, like 2016 angry Trump. Especially that anti-Somalian tirade he went on. And I know you know what I'm talking about. He like the pink tie at this dinner, and he went on like a rant and a half. And he said a lot of aggressive things. He called them garbage. He called Somalians garbage. And he said they contribute nothing. He called out Ilhan Omar. He said, go back to your country. We don't want you here. You married your brother. He said a lot of crazy things. He's going to end the temporary protected status or the TPS for Somalians, like all these threats. It was a big tirade, I will say. Like Ilhan Omar, she's the U.S. representative of Minnesota. And her and Trump hate each other, but Trump is viciously attacking her recently. And it seems like he's pretty serious. And now he's anti-Somali. And like, here's the other front. First it was Venezuela. Now we're against the United States is against the Somalians. And it's all to do with Minnesota. Minnesota, let's bring up Minnesota. You have Tim Walz. Remember Tim Walz? He was almost the vice president of the United States. No one had heard of him before, very much like J.D. Vance. He came out of nowhere to be the pairing option to Kamala Harris. Kamala Harris received 0 votes to be the Democratic nominee. You know this. She was appointed. And then she appointed Tim Walz, who you also never heard of. And they just wanted you to believe he was a good up and up, quirky guy. Turns out that's not true. And we're going to get to that. But Tim Walz is out calling these Trump remarks Islamophobic and anti-immigration, fueling the fire that I talked about a couple weeks ago with Dearborn and these January 6th actors, coming out and stirring the pot up with bacon, and burning Qurans. Like this is all planned. Do you not see it? But you got Trump, playing chess. He's like, I'm gonna up the ante. I'm gonna make the rhetoric a little more intense. And normally this would be bad for Trump. This would backfire on Trump. The only problem is Tim Walz just found himself in this massive fraud scandal. I don't know if this was part of the plan that Trump had. I don't know if he is playing chess. I don't know if he's 8 steps ahead. Maybe it was just a coincidence, but out of nowhere, this giant fraud in Minnesota came out. It was, what is it, FOF? Feeding Our Futures was the now dissolved nonprofit that was going on in Minnesota. And essentially, the state stole from the federal government, and it was this federally funded child nutrition program, Feed Our Futures, and they embezzled all the money. Now, that's the biggest one, but there's many more. This is only the beginning of what they're finding. So this fraud, they found fraud with this state-funded housing program as well, for senior citizens and disabled people. So that's not good. And also one for autistic children for autistic treatment services. All that money. Now they're estimating over $1 billion was completely misused and stolen. And Tim Walz was in charge of it. So that's not looking good. They drained the taxpayer money, and guess where it all went? It went to the Somalian community in Minnesota, which is not good. They received welfare programs, many different welfare programs, and some even got free college, I hear, which is crazy to me. And Tim Walz allowed all that fraud to happen. So it doesn't look good. And you don't know what to believe. And I think that's part of the plan. They keep you going in every different direction. You go, oh, but what about this? And what about this? And we play whataboutism, and no one is accountable. And that's the problem. But I do want you to pay attention to the Trump administration's rhetoric. It's very much serious and aggressive, but also childish. Like on the other end of all the serious, aggressive rhetoric, you have them putting out these ads of ICE deportations with Sabrina Carpenter music, like memes, like they're doing like brain rot propaganda, like they're making TikToks, like the government, like Homeland Security and ICE, like immigration reform is like being TikToked, which well, you don't know how to take that. Like you're listening to a TikTok with Sabrina Carpenter music as somebody gets deported. Like, well, you don't really know what to say. I don't know what kind of propaganda that is, but it's new. I would call it like brain rot propaganda. Well, I don't know. I don't know what's going on, but you do have to admit it's hard to make sense of it. You don't know if it's really aggressive and serious or if it's kind of goofy. Because Trump's kind of goofy. He's like dancing and he's always doing funny things. He's calling people piggy and like he has this comedic nature to him that you want to laugh, but you're also like, wait, this is kind of serious. And then the next minute he's like, Gene Simmons, you're a very good friend of mine. And you're like, oh, kiss, cool. So yeah, I don't know. It's like a love hate toxic relationship. It's like a girlfriend that hits you, but she's also really nice, and you don't know if you're scared or not. It's like that. It's kind of like a abusive relationship. It feels like, at least mentally, verbally abusive. Is that what it's called? Yeah, probably that. Little side note: people are driving by Tim Wall's house and calling him names. They're calling him the R word, which is not nice. Um, I don't know. Like, we are really back in like fifth grade. Like, the mentality is crazy of society as a whole. I don't know what to make of it, but like driving by the guy's house and calling him names like a bully would. Very weird. We live in weird times, but he did embezzle a lot of money from people that needed it. The taxpayers thought it was going somewhere beneficial, and it was really going to Somalians, which I don't think they knew. You know what I'm saying? So that's why Trump he feels justified now. He's like, well, they were scammers. Get them out of here. That's kind of what's going on. Anyways, moving on. The theme is like fraud and grifting. I say that Trump grifts at times. McDonald's and Burger King grift. With the Grinch meal and the SpongeBob meal, everybody's grifting. Um, Here's the best grifter, Candace Owens, who I've been saying this for weeks. If you watch this show, I've been calling out Candace for weeks that she's riding the coattails of Charlie Kirk's death and trying to make money. Um, and she's a fraud. She's got a true crime thing going with her show with the cliffhangers, and she's got the people at home watching. It's all exciting. She's good at what she does. She's a good scammer. But it finally caught up with her, and I saw this coming. Turning Point USA finally put a video out responding to all her odd claims, and I feel like you got the Candace cult that worship everything she says. They have an answer for everything she says, whatever. But if you're not in that Candace Owens cult, everything they said kind of shut down everything she said. They have an answer for all of it. And in fact, they're even doing a live stream to address every single claim she made. December 15th, and they invited her to it. And she was like, anytime, anywhere. And they go, how about December 15th? And she's like, I can't do that. I can't make it. I'm not going to do that. Too short notice. She goes, it's my husband's birthday. And the funny part is like it's December 15th, and her husband's birthday is like well documented July 7th. And on another episode way back, she like said it was her husband's birthday on July 7th. Her rich husband, what's his name? I don't know. George Farmer, this British elite billionaire that she met for a week and got engaged to overseas. Anyways, whatever. So yeah, now it's being exposed where she's kind of running away with her tail between her legs because she's not gonna go and make a fool of herself because they're gonna wipe the floor with her. They're gonna say, "What are you talking about? Like, what are you saying? Are you saying that we're behind Charlie Kirk's death?" And then when she's there in person, she's not gonna say yes because they're gonna have all the facts. Do I think something is up? 100%. But I don't like that she's trying to hint at the fact that people around him definitively were behind it if she doesn't have the proof. She has like 1/10 of the proof. She doesn't have any real proof. And if she did, obviously, it would be more than just a true crime podcast, and there'd be like I don't know, there'd be a bigger backlash. But her show was fun for a while. She milked it out. She milked the Macron thing. Now she milked this, but this is probably the end of her popularity. I think it should be at least. We'll see what happens there, but I found that funny. Anytime, any place. Oh, well, not that. I can't do it then. Hopefully she does something. Hopefully it's a good debate. That's what I'd like to see. But I do think she is grifting a bit. Just how I feel. Um, the music industry. We're gonna close with this. I'm gonna rant a little because this hits home to me. I'm a musician. 30 original songs. Been playing for over 10, 15 years now, almost. Um, put a lot of time and heart and soul into music, and I really wanted to make it. I still do, but I really wanted to at one point. So much so that I didn't even have like a real job for a good amount of time. I just did gigs for a long time until I got a career because I thought music was just going to work out. I was a naive, dumb kid, like we all were. Um, and I always have this analogy where, like, what happens to Elvis? Like, he becomes a rock star, he becomes the biggest thing in the world, and ends up dying on the toilet overdosing. And that happens to Elvis, yet we all still want to be Elvis. What is that? It's an odd phenomenon that happens. Um, Moral of that analogy is the music industry is nothing but trouble, but we all still want to get into it. And why is that? I don't know. I'll never understand. As I get older, I want to be involved in it less. The more I learn about how it works and how disingenuous it is and how corrupt it is and even how evil it is. But I think now in the age of 2025, the age of TikTok, the age of noticing, you're seeing just how much all those weird crackpot theories are actually kind of true. And the one you always hear is that when you get when you become a movie star or a musician or a famous singer or songwriter or whatever, when you become famous, you got to sign a deal with the devil. You hear that analogy all the time. I think it's kind of real though. I really do think you have to be, you got to play ball. You got to be on the team of the big labels that control everything. They control the gigs, the venues, the radio play, the playlisting, um, your licensing, all that. They control it all, and it's all like a monopoly. And they all own, most of the major artists. And there's a fight to own them, and there's a lot of pros and cons that come with that. And they fuel certain lifestyles and put you in with certain people and set you up with certain people, and you mentor certain people and take them under your wing and open for them. And it's a lot of malicious stuff, and a lot of people have spoken out about it over the years. And it's very different than it was back in the day. People wrote genuine songs that they felt were good, and then the good ones rose to the top. That was how it worked. Now everything is an algorithm. Everything is calculated. Every person you see on the world stage is there for a reason. It's because they're doing something for someone. Someone is getting something out of them being famous. Keep that in mind. And when I say the word evil, like some people might take that lightly, but there really is like a spiritual realm, whether you like it or not. And you could say that some people say it's good vibes and bad vibes. Some people say it's evil. Some say it's good. Some say it's angels, devils, whatever you want to believe. Whatever your worldview is, yin yang, whatever you want. There is some dark, evil things going on in that music industry. And I think they want it to be very clear. Like I said a couple episodes ago, the revelation of the method, they show you exactly what they're doing. And recently, I saw Zach Brown. Remember Zach Brown band? It was a country, like campfire-ish vibe. Like he was doing a show at the Sphere, had like a whole different look and everything. And his background graphics were all like satanic, evil like devil hellscapes. Like it was very weird for his brand. Like I could see a metal concert or something, people that play that up, like Ozzy Osbourne or Alice Cooper or anyone, or Kiss even playing up the ACDC, doing like the cliche devil stuff. Sure. But this is like a country guy doing all this weird imagery. I don't know. Everyone's saying, a lot of people are saying it felt off putting. I mean, Taylor Swift did shit like that. Ice Spice, like all these people, like Taylor Swift and Ice Spice hanging out at the camera kept going to them at the Super Bowl. Like, hey, look, they're hanging out. They just want you to know Ice Spice is the next one you need to pay attention to. They tell you who to pay attention to. Like this halftime show, Bad Bunny. Like no, half the people never heard of Bad Bunny. They just made a story out of it. He's the guy you're going to pay attention to now. They tell you it's planned programming. Um, and there's that old quote, you know, if you're going to lie, lie big. The bigger the lie, the easier it is for people to believe. You know, if you lie a little, people catch on. If you lie big, it usually works. So it's like Bad Bunny is the greatest performer of all time, and people are like, "Oh, I guess he is." I was ignorant. I didn't know. That's how it all works. Speaking of another guy, Jelly Roll, there's some controversy going on with this exact thing I'm talking about, with the deal with the devil and all that. Jelly Roll looks completely different. He feels completely different. Jelly Roll in particular, I feel might have some bad karma because he really used God and salvation and Christianity to build his brand and to appeal to his audience, which obviously was never his intention originally, but they found that it works when people feel like they found out that there's a value to Christianity and redemption, and they exploited the same thing that some parts of the church exploited, where like the church used God's word to make money, to benefit man. Country music is figuring that out now. And I mean, they did for a bit, but now it's like you can use God's word to make people feel better and it actually works. But if you're using it for your monetary gain, that's kind of the problem. In Jelly Roll, that's his whole brand. He did Son of a Sinner, written by someone else. It took off. Then his whole brand became rehab, getting over addiction, finding God, Christian cliches. You know, you know this is true, and that was never really his thing. And then when he talks, he has to be very, Christian and all that. But what's interesting is this guy Upchurch the redneck. I don't know if you know him, but look him up. But he kind of avoided the Nashville scene and the record label scene his whole life, and he said that Jelly Roll and a couple guys came to his house unannounced in the middle of the night and was like begging him to sign this record deal. And they're promising him hundreds of millions of dollars. And he said no. And he kind of exposed it. And he said like they need to. It was very odd. Look it up. Like look this story up. He said he has more of the video he could release too. You don't know what to believe anymore. But if you don't smell the disingenuous nature of Hollywood and Nashville and the CMA Awards and all that, and how fake and planned it is, and how these industry plants just pop up like Shabuzi, and then people just believe that Shabuzi is country. Here's that one song I really like. Like it is so disingenuous that I don't even want to be in it. Like I don't. Like a part of me doesn't even want to be in it. Like my artwork, like my comedy, like this podcast, like my music, like everything I do. I kind of just like the honest fans that I acquired naturally, not algorithmically. I'd rather my small little group of 100 subscribers for this podcast rather than, I don't know, 8 billion drones that like me only because I tickled their algorithm fancy. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's why there's two pathways that music is going to go down. Everything is probably going to do this: art, paintings, poetry, anything, movies. But let's just focus on music for the sake of this rant. It's going to be demonic or evil is one path, or the other path is AI, or maybe both. So you got evil, mediocre, or AI. Those are your three options. It'll probably be all of the above: evil, mediocre, or fake. AI. And AI music's already blowing up, and there's a good argument to be made there. What's the difference? If it's good music, who cares? But I think there's something tragically terrible about taking the human spirit out of art and creativity and creation. I think why the creative types are so important and special And why they're usually the saddest people is because it's a giant burden to do what they do, to make something out of nothing. It is emulating the great, powerful, almighty. You know what I'm saying? If you believe God created everything, if you create from nothing as well, you're emulating God. That's why it's a very important thing when you make a painting or write a poem or write a song or like that's why it's beautiful to be one that creates from nothing. Even a carpenter, if you're in the trades, like you lay down a nice driveway, you created that from nothing. Like that's emulating the great spirit that I think we all should be more in touch with. When you strip human involvement from that, I think you're going to have problems because we're going to lack purpose. We're going to lose our purpose. We're going to lose who we are. We need to feel purposeful. And if you want to believe the conspiracies, which I kind of do, I think those that are in power wish to strip us from purpose. And I think they're doing a very good job. And I think AI is accelerating that. But when you apply that to music, AI comes with its own problems. It's going to replace jobs. It's going to ruin everything. But it's even more of a problem when it takes away creativity. If AI replaces the mundane things we don't want to do, so be it. That has its own problems in and of itself. You know, no hard work. You don't fold the laundry. You know, the robot does everything for you. That's fine and good. But when it takes away the things that you wish you had more time to do, like if the mundane things were done, I would paint or I'd make poetry, or if it takes that away too, then what? Then what do? Stare at you doom scroll on your phone and stare at rage bait all day and get depressed and drink and take drugs? I don't like that's what really annoys me. So when I see this AI music, I do think it is the downfall of the human spirit uh in and of itself. I think it's the downfall of what makes us special and our soul. You know, that's you don't want to sell your soul. You know what I'm saying? That's the theme I keep saying. Don't sell your soul, be yourself. And if you don't want to look at it that heavy and you want to take it on a lighter note, it's very insulting. It's insulting to people like me and all the millions of other people out there that work their ass off and pour their heart out into a song. And it takes so long to find the inspiration, to find the muse, or to find something that gets you out of bed in the morning and it makes you want to write a song and do something. And the process of laying down every instrument and taking the best takes of your vocals and hitting that note just right and feeling so good and releasing it and doing all that, it's you're taking all that away and it's insulting to musicians and you're insulting to the craft. Now, is AI useful? Yeah, I use AI all the time. Can you use it for certain things like a poster or a logo or whatever? Sure, I get it. And that's not fair either because everyone has something they once did that AI now replaced. But when it comes down to actual creation and putting your name behind something that you really didn't do, that's actually serious and a reflection of the human spirit, not just like a little frivolous thing. If it's actually like, oh, I did this and it's AI, it's disgusting, man. It really is. So the reason I think it's so popular, though, and why it's going to work is because we have a fundamental problem with our society, and our society is mostly mediocre. Now, I don't mean this to be rude. I don't, because you could clump me in that. You could clump a lot of people in this, but overall, I would say 80% of people are mediocre. 10% are below mediocre, and 10% are above. Not many people are great innovators. You know, if you look back at history, I mean, what is it? There's a lot of great minds in history, but not everybody's going to be a great mind. You know what I'm saying? Not everybody's going to do everything. And mediocre is not an insult. It just means you're not you're not super stellar. Look at schools like grades. You have 10% of kids below average, 10% of kids above average, and the middle is average. You know that like by mediocre I mean average. And when you have average taste, you know, and AI is choosing from 80% being average, the algorithmic structure of its programming will make something that's very average. Before AI was even a thing, songwriters knew this that most people are average. Most people aren't really dumb. They're kind of smart, but they're not super smart. So you don't have to write an excellent song. You have to write a very average song because most people are very average and they like very average music. They don't need it to be overly complex. Like it doesn't have to be math rock, but it also doesn't have to be like extremely dumbed down. Like, I like this band, but like Primus or Primus, you don't need to be, my name is Mud. Like, it doesn't have to be that, but it doesn't also have to be like Tool singing about God and the universe and all that, and schisms and all, whatever. You know what I'm saying? They find the middle. Taylor Swift singing about being a teenager into her 40s. That's, very relatable to a lot of people. Average, mediocre. AI is now tapping into what most of the people like and relate to. And what most of the people like and relate to is the middle, the average, the 80%, for good or for bad. So that's what you're getting. It's like a genie. You ask it for something, it spits out exactly what you want. And what you want, if you want to be famous, is to appeal to the 80% of the average mediocre. And that's just how it is. That's just the way it is. I can't, don't be mad at me. You write something great. This has always been this way. You go back in history, like Socrates, great thinker, started coming up with these above average thoughts. What happened? They said, well, you got to go. Jesus Christ started saying all this profound, the best lessons you could ever learn. They go, oh, this is too much for me. Nope. All the martyrs of science, Giordano Bruno, all of them. Hey, I got a higher thought. Nah, because the average people rule the world. Every once in a while you get a diamond in the rough. That's just how it is. And most people will hate them. Keep that in mind. Because they don't understand. It's hard for the 80% to understand the misunderstood intelligent 10%. It happens. It's just rare. It's not as common. If you want a safer bet on the 80% in the middle. And that's what AI is doing. That's what people did before AI. But AI is going to expedite this process and produce even more average music for more people, and art and literature and movies. And everything's going to be fine tuned to your exact liking. And when I say average thinking, it's not going to be anything profound that inspires great contemplation or critical thinking. It's going to be the stuff that rots your brain and makes you feel comfortable on the couch. You could scroll for hours, because I love watching glass jars fall down the stairs, and I love watching people make a homemade cake on TikTok, and I love watching satisfying videos of girls with long nails tap on a desk. That's what they're going to give you. They're not going to give you anything that makes you think deeper, and that's a problem. So with that being said, go out and get yourself a Grinch meal while you still could, because I couldn't. Yeah. That's my little rant. I'm done here. Keeping it light. Christmas is here. Enjoy it. Enjoy Christmas. Put on a sweater and enjoy it. This episode is brought to you in part by Jack's Pub and Eatery and Three Saints Barbershop, located in historic downtown Jessup, Pennsylvania. Also Tusk, Scranton, and Bacardo Jewelers. I'll be back next week. Hopefully we have a guest or maybe two. I hope you're getting ready for Christmas. I hope you're chugging eggnog, and I hope you're feeling rather merry. As always, stay curious, my friends. Good night.